Hello, good day. John Montgomery here once again, just to talk to you about the topics that we cover on our 3-day IFR written exam seminar. This seminar is very in-depth. There are many topics to talk about, and it's designed through a full 3 days, basically 3 9-hour days, which move very quickly and are very interactive and also a lot of fun, just to show you the topics that we're going to cover and ideally have you ready to challenge the Transport Canada instrument written exam. So here we go. Professional Flight Center IFR 3-day seminar topics. Here we go. So anyways, we'll start by breaking down airways and air routes and route selection with the focus on the low chart, that's surface up to 18,000 feet. That's where all the written exam questions will be for this exam. So we focus on those altitude echelons, into designated mountainous regions and the various differences between non-mountainous and mountainous regions. En route considerations with once again a big focus on the low chart and the legend, and showing practical examples from what you'll see actually on the chart through the legend so we can connect those dots. Into NOTAMs, notices to pilots pertaining to VOR and serviceabilities, snow-covered runways, approach lights out, you name it, many things that can surface via NOTAM. Into the weather component, graphic area forecast. There's usually quite a few questions pertaining to what's known as the GFA. So we cover that top to bottom. Aircraft structural icing, we describe all the various types of rime and clear icing and the temperature range where you'd maximize ice and ice protect yourself, what to do if you ever are caught in ice. Into the aviation hourly weather reports known as the METARs. So we go through METARs, basically top to bottom, and talk about each component of a METAR and prepare you for any questions you'll have relating to that. Likewise, the International Aerodrome Forecast known as the TAFs. Lots of detail on that. Into alternate minima. As an IFR pilot, you must have an aerodrome of departure, destination, and you must in Canada carry an alternate. So what is the alternate minimums and all the various items with respect to whether it's based on a TAF or a GFA, etc. All the variables pertaining to that we describe here. Computer exercises, so getting used to once again using your computer, either the E6B or the electronic E6B, just making sure we can get the wind correction angles and timings and things like that. There is some of that information that does come up on the INRAD exam, and that's all pertinent to flight planning. IFR flight planning requirements are discussed. Minimum equipment list for IFR flight. What minimum navigation aids do I need on board the airplane to legally file IFR? We describe that. VOR operations, ADF operations, DME, distance measuring equipment operations. Big one, of course, also being GPS operations. These are known as traditional nav aids, and then we get into the GPS, and there's a large focus on that, as there should be. Takeoff minima, departure procedures are all discussed. Standard instrument departure procedures known as SIDS, comm failures on SIDS, various things that can happen as well. Position reporting in en route flight, liaison with air traffic control, ATC, making sure we're dovetailing with the ATC system. Primary and secondary surveillance radar, transponder codes, stock transponder codes, if we were high level or low level, comm failure, emergencies, things of the like. Holding patterns, so we'll go through the various ADF VOR holds, making sure that we're able to properly manage the airplane in the event that we are in a holding pattern. Speed limits, ATC limitations on speed, en route, and in approach areas if they give you a speed request, the tolerances, etc., etc. Approaches and approach procedures, so all of the approaches, be it ILS, VOR, NDB, GPS, are all reviewed. The ILS, of course, Instrument Landing System, circling approaches, circling procedures, approach ban, where if the visibility is extremely low, if the runway visual range, the RVR transmissometer, is below a certain threshold, can we or can we not continue with the approach? What is the minimum number before we are legal to cross the final approach fix? All of this stuff is described in detail. The landing illusions, if you've got an upslope or a downslope runway, if you've got rain on the windscreen, things of the like, how to fly a PAPI and a VASI, which are great assists to make sure that you do get your airplane into the touchdown zone. That'll be landing aids, PAPI and VASI. Contact approaches and visual approaches, if the weather is such that it's not so bad that you have to fly your approach to minimums, maybe the weather is actually pretty good at destination and we would elect to do a visual approach, and maybe it's not quite that good, but maybe it does open the door to possibly do a contact approach. So we talk about the criteria in place before you can do this and who can request it, ATC or the pilot, things of the like. As you can see, there's a lot of detail in 3 days, believe me. Canceling IFR. If the weather is that good that you can cancel IFR, go VFR. We talk about how we would do that. And then some emergency type things such as thunderstorm penetration, strategies to follow if you ever did inadvertently enter a thunderstorm, recommendations. Airborne weather radar, how to read it, what it means if you see red on it, how to avoid turbulence by making reference to the airborne weather radar. Altimeter setting region and standard pressure region, where we would be very remote areas, you'd be in the standard pressure region, what altimeter setting would be used, what verbalization, what ATC calls would be made. It's uncontrolled IFR up there, so you really are talking to other aircraft. We just tell you how to do that, everything about it. And Canada is definitely a very large country with a large northern component where we do have very cold temperatures. And so because of that, the altimeter will overread in cold temperatures. So there's things we have to do to ensure safety. And that would be cold weather operations and cold weather corrections, which we review. Finally, uncontrolled IFR operations. If you are operating an IFR outside of controlled airspace, again, stated all the radio calls that need to be made and operational criteria that goes into place with that. Communication failure in IFR flight. What do we do if we have a comm failure in IFR flight? We review that. And finally, spatial disorientation, which is something that we have to guard against, make sure our scan is good, and the visual clues that sometimes come up with accelerating aircraft, and we make sure that we are apprised of that and have strategies to beat them down. Anyways, we hope to see you at this awesome IFR seminar, and then with that, we hope to see you for the full training, right from private all the way up through IFR, and get your career off on that right foot. John Montgomery, I'm the president and founder of Professional Flight Center. Started back in 1986, still doing it, still loving it, and we hope to see you here in beautiful Vancouver, BC, Canada, Boundary Bay Airport. Cheers.